What's up, Raptors fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. I hope you guys are having a good start to your weekend. It's time to talk about some basketball, in particular the Raptors. The draft being about 19 days away, we need to talk about who the Raptors could potentially take between Evan Mobley and Jalen Suggs. Now, I know this may seem a little bit far-stretched as to both of those players potentially landing at that number 4 spot, but still, it's fun to talk about this, especially considering the teams that are ahead of us. Houston and Cleveland have definitely made some questionable decisions over the last little while. Now, Houston Rockets obviously trading James Harden, but also just the whole fiasco of the whole deal of what they were doing with Victor Oladipo and that return they got from him really does not install a lot of trust in the Houston management, the general managers. They've definitely made some strange decisions. And Cleveland Cavaliers, who seem like they're going in a million different directions. They're potentially trading Colin Sexton. They're looking to trade Jarrett Allen. Now they're looking to trade up in that number 4 spot. I think those are two teams that may actually favor and help the Raptors in terms of if they decide to reach out of the top 4 and reach for someone else, which would help us land, potentially give us a little bit of an option between Evan Mobley and Jalen Suggs. Now, I do want to throw this out as well. There was some news that came out a few weeks ago about the Cavaliers potentially looking at Jonathan Kuminga at the number 3 spot. So as I've mentioned, although the chances of both Evan Mobley and Jalen Suggs falling to the Raptors may not seem very realistic, as I've mentioned, those teams ahead of us aren't the greatest in terms of management, what they do with their players. And we know the Cavaliers have also invited Jonathan Kuminga to a second workout later this month as well. So maybe there's a possibility the Cleveland Cavaliers take Jonathan Kuminga and we get a chance at Evan Mobley and Jalen Suggs. So for today's video, I'm going to compare the two. I'm going to break their game down a little bit, show you some stats. But before we get into the details of that, you know the drill. Give this video a thumbs up as it helps reach more basketball fans like yourself across YouTube. And if you could hit that subscribe button as well, it greatly helps this channel grow. You get a lot of Raptors content on here, including in-depth analysis, latest rumors, latest videos, latest draft news as well. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. So for those who may not be familiar with Jalen Suggs, he is a guard. He played at Gonzaga. He played the point guard position. He's capable of playing the shooting guard position as well. And he's only 19 years old. And the great thing about Jalen Suggs is not only is he 19 years old, he'll definitely provide a little bit more size for the Raptors. He's 6'4", 205 pounds. He's also got a decent wingspan of 6'6". Now moving on to Evan Mobley, having a look at a little bit of his bio here. He can play both the center and power forward position. He's 20 years old. He's 7 feet tall, which would be absolutely tremendous for the Raptors. We know we've been a little bit undersized ever since Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka have left. We really need a tall center there. So he's 7 foot. That is great. And he's a little bit underweight, though. That is an issue with a lot of college players, which is okay. He's 215 pounds. But look at that wingspan, 7 foot 4 inches wingspan is absolutely insane. So, I mean, let's first talk about Jalen Suggs a little bit. Having a look at his statistics, I want you to focus your attention at the bottom of your screen as I talk about the statistics a little bit. So he averaged 14.4 points, 5.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and he also got 1.9 steals, which is great for the Raptors because we know what a juggernaut we have when OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, and Pascal Siakam as well. So having him on that squad, could you imagine the backcourt and just how tenacious that defense would be? He's a great leader as well. He's shown a lot of leaderships despite being only 19 years old. Now, maybe you could tie that in the fact that he did play quarterback as well. So maybe that's where his leadership skills come from. So having a look at some of his other statistics as well, 50% from the field for a point guard is absolutely tremendous. As I mentioned, he is 6'4", so that definitely helps him hit those shots a little bit better, but also drive to the basket a bit more. We'll get into more of that in a bit, but when you take a look at his three-point percentage as well, it's pretty decent. 33% isn't the greatest. That is one area he does need to improve on, but that's still an encouraging sign. That is something I think he can definitely improve on. And same with his free throw percentages as well. 75% for a point guard isn't the greatest, but as I've mentioned, he's 19 years old. That would be a really big bonus. I mean, considering the fact that we took Malachi Flynn, who is 22 years old, I mean, we can potentially have Jalen Suggs for 3 more years, develop him, and he'd still be 22 years old and a year younger than what OG Anunoby is right now. So that's one of the benefits of landing a top 4 pick. You get a really young player such as Jalen Suggs. And now moving on to Evan Mobley. When you take a look at his statistics, 16.4 points, And what really stands out about his statistics is his blocks. You look at the blocks there, 2.9 blocks is insane. He's a great shot blocker. He's also a decent rebounder as well, 8.7 rebounds. 2.4 assists is really good for his position as well. He's shown the ability to pass the ball as well. And when you take a look at some of the other statistics now, he obviously does need to improve as a three-point shooter. 30% isn't all that great at all, but as I've mentioned, these guys are very young, 19 and 20 years old. Although he may not shoot the three-point ball really well, I definitely see signs of encouragement, and I don't see why he can't be a good three-point shooter at the NBA level. And again, some of the similar issues that Jalen Suggs had as well. When you take a look at his free throw percentage, it isn't the greatest, but that's okay. I mean, mostly for the center position, you're not exactly expecting them to shoot 80+%. That's a bonus when you do get that in centers. But looking at his 2-point percentages and his field goal percentage as well, 57% from the field is great. And when you look at his 2-point field goal percentage, 61% is awesome as well. So let's break down their games a little bit and talk about how they would fit with the Raptors. Now, as I've mentioned with Jalen Suggs earlier, he has shown tremendous skills despite being 19 years old. He's also a really good player when it comes to driving to the rim. As you see him going up for a layup there, he has finished some, I don't know the exact percentages, but he's finished tremendously around the rim for a point guard. It's 50+%, I think, at the rim, which is tremendous because we know Fred VanVleet's not the greatest at finishing around the rim. So in Jalen Suggs, you get a player who's not only finishing well around the rim, but he's got this really quick move he uses to kind of hesitate defenders, and he kind of runs to the rim with a burst of speed, and that's great because we get another player in Jalen Suggs who will attack the rim as well, and he's a great facilitator as well. His transition game is absolutely phenomenal. He's great at finding players in transition, and I think you can relate that again back to football again, being the quarterback, you're looking for receivers. So Jalen Suggs is tremendous at passing, his leadership skills, getting to the rim, but he does have a little bit of things he needs to work on. As I've mentioned, his three-point shooting needs a lot of work. That is not a good percentage for a point guard, but also his free throw percentage as well. But as I've mentioned, I don't see why he cannot improve. He is a very hard worker. He's come a long way, and I can definitely see him improving. And I don't need to say this. Us Raptors fans know this. Raptors developmental system is amazing. And also Jalen Suggs' defense as well. You'd be surprised. He's very well capable of blocking shots as well. Despite being 6'4", he's a tenacious defender who really gets in the faces of defenders. He really bodies them up. And now he's not the strongest of players in terms of weight, but he can really do a really good job of positioning himself in front of the defenders, keeping up. He has tremendous speed, which allows him to keep up with any player. He can guard the 1 and 2 position, and his size is great as well. So that's a bonus. He doesn't foul a lot, which is also another good thing about Jalen Suggs. He does not turn the ball over either. So he does a great job. And if the Raptors were to land Jalen Suggs, that would be tremendous in the backcourt. Now, obviously, there are some issues as to, what do we do with Gary Trent Jr., but we'll leave that for another time. I have touched that a little bit in the past, but imagine a lineup of Fred VanVleet, Jalen Suggs, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and a center, potentially bring back Ken Burch. That defense is going to be tremendous. We know Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby are both great defenders, but also great at getting those steals as well. And then you get someone in Jalen Suggs who's averaging 1.9 steals per game. I mean, our transition game is going to be absolutely phenomenal, considering that he's also really quick as well. He'll gel really well with guys like, I feel like Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet as well. He can drive to the basket, also kick it out. He's a great passer, so I think he'll fit in with the Raptors system really well. And now moving on to Evan Mobley. Now, Evan Mobley, this is a little bit tricky. As I've talked about in my previous video, Bobby Webster has come out and said that he will draft the best available player, but it's always fun to kind of discuss whether or not the Raptors should, go for it, considering the free agency isn't the sexiest this year when it comes to centers, and the Raptors clearly do need a center. But I mean, Evan Mobley, if we're being realistic and being honest with ourselves, 7 foot is great, but he's also 215 pounds. I mean, that's not a lot. To give you a perspective, I showed you Jalen Suggs' height and weight. Jalen Suggs is 6'4", 205 pounds. Evan Mobley is 7 foot, and he's 10 pounds heavier than Jalen Suggs. So that just gives you a perspective of how much weight he does need to add on. I don't think if we did draft Evan Mobley, I don't necessarily think he can come in right away and be the center. He's going to get bullied a lot in the post. Now, with that being said, let's talk about some of his attributes and what he would bring to the Raptors. And much like Jalen Suggs, his defense is absolutely tremendous. He is a tremendous shot blocker. He will block any and everything around the rim. So imagine having someone like Evan Mobley and Chris Boucher both playing at the same time. Now, they may be skinny and they're probably not going to be guarding, not holding their own in the post, but that shot blocking ability is going to be absolutely insane. We do know the Raptors need a little bit of rim protection, so Evan Mobley provides that. He's also a decent rebounder as well. I think he'll improve with that as he fills into his frame. But just having someone like that, he's a great defender. He can guard multiple positions. He's also very mobile as a center. He's not just someone who can guard the center and power forward position. He can guard small forwards and even at times shooting guards as well. He moves his feet really well. He's a really smart defender as well. And much like Jalen Suggs, they both have really high IQ when it comes to defense and just how they play the basketball. So if we were to draft someone like Evan Mobley, I think we get someone who's a tremendous shot blocker, a good rebounder as well, but also an amazing defender who does a great job of staying in front of the players. He doesn't foul too often. He's a smart player when it comes to playing basketball. He makes the right decisions. He doesn't force his game. Now, that has actually been one of the criticisms regarding Evan Mobley's game, which is sometimes he is hesitant to kind of force his game and kind of just play aggressively, which a lot of people have said he needs to improve on. But you know what? As I've mentioned, you're getting very young players. There's always room for improvement for every college player, no matter how good they play. So I don't see why that can't be something that can be worked on. He's also shown a lot of potential to be a good three-point shooter at the NBA level. So I think that's awesome when you get someone like Evan Mobley, who's not only mobile on defense, he's able to move well. He can block shots. I mean, that's kind of like a Chris Boucher, but a younger Chris Boucher who can do multiple things and has way more potential. And if Evan Mobley gets his offense going as well, that is something he does need to improve on. Get his three-point shot up, get those reps in, get some sort of a consistent offense going. He is going to be something to watch. And I mean, as I've mentioned, it's kind of hard to find centers in the NBA these days, and free agency is not the greatest. So if we were to draft Evan Mobley, I think we're locked in the center position. Now, when speaking of drafting Evan Mobley, we do need to consider that centers normally do take quite a while to develop in the NBA. So if we're aiming to go for the championship in the next year or two, I don't necessarily think Evan Mobley can be the guy that can come in right away and take you to that next level. He is someone that's going to take probably at least 2 years to develop, really fix his game at the NBA level and fill his frame, get a little bit stronger, get a little bit more physical. He obviously does have some things he needs to work on, but that is some things that Evan Mobley would bring to the Raptors. Now, before I end this video off, guys, I do want to hear your thoughts. Who would you choose if given the opportunity? Do you potentially draft Evan Mobley knowing that we have a big hole at that center position? Or do you go with someone like Jalen Suggs, who brings tremendous leadership skills along with great defense and other assets as well? Who would you take at that number 4 spot? Let me know in the comments section. And if you guys are still watching this video, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.